Hello again, everybody, and welcome to our special New Year's edition of Inspection Connections. I am your host, the inimitable Vito Bianca, certified master inspector and purveyor of knowledge and entertainment. And with me, as always, is my co-host, my partner in crime, the Bonnie to my Clyde, the irrepressible, great Aiden Rowley. She is the princess of rock solid home inspections, the queen of customer service, and the sultana of scheduling. How you doing today, Aiden?
Well, after that introduction, I'm feeling pretty confident and fantastic.
Yes, ma'am. The wonders of too much coffee can do amazing things on a recording like today. So
we had spoken about in the last episode how caffeinated we were, and I feel like I'm betraying you by trying to not be as caffeinated this year.
Damn those horrible New Year's resolutions. See, my resolution was to stay caffeinated, but also to be a kinder, gentler, more accessible home inspector and helper. In fact, I've even ordered a dozen different colored sweater vests, and I'm planning weekly trips to watch the sunset on the beach. I may even cry. I may even cry this year for sheer feelings.
I need documentation once that happens.
Yes, well, previously, my response was hunger and anger are feelings. But I'm going to have to, get the sweater vest, shed some tears at beauty, and maybe, get a puppy or a cat.
So you have to watch like a really sad rom-com, something like Marley and Me, and grab a
the first 5 minutes of Up. That movie will do it. If that movie doesn't do it to you, nothing will.
That is emotional damage.
See right there? Yeah. Maybe I'll get a little cat and I'll name him Lord Bartholomew.
Oh my God, Vito! I don't think you could come up with a better name. I think that's top tier.
Caffeine. It's the way to go. The number one drug in America.
Oh my gosh, Vito. Well, I think you had said that you had a question come through for you. I was kind of curious what that was. You haven't told me yet.
Well, it came through from a friend on Facebook. It was a fellow inspector. His name was George Beemester, Mike Boomester from Facebook. And he said, how about telling us what kind of services you offer, what value you're bringing to the table? And I thought that was a fantastic topic for today, at least for a little while, because it ties right in with the Happy New Year theme of the episode, right? It's a brand new year. We've got goals. We've met a lot of our goals from last year. We've got nothing but growth ahead of us, even with this struggling market. Would you agree with that?
I couldn't agree more. I think this episode would be a great time to kind of talk about industry standards and, just how, the other people in the field that we see and what they are doing versus what we're doing. I really like that topic because I've actually had that come up a couple times with our other inspectors that we have, and it's been a pretty insightful conversation of their opinions and what they're seeing from other inspectors versus what we do. And I think that's a great start off to this episode, Vito.
Tell me, what did our beloved inspectors share on that topic with you? What did you come away with from that?
Well, they're also in quite a few different inspector forums or Facebook groups because
Yep.
Not only are they entertaining, but they're also kind of insightful to what standard our realtors are kind of seeing when they are choosing other inspectors or referring more than one company when they put our name next to theirs. And I thought it was kind of interesting, even with pricing and competitive pricing, what the, protocol of what's a high price versus a low price versus kind of meet in the middle, which I find that more often than we're not. We're kind of in the dead center between the high and low on pricing. But insurance inspections is always a really hot topic. They're not necessarily the most fun inspections to complete as they're pretty minimal. And more often than not, it's a lot of work post-inspection that's not always, countered into the pricing of inspections. So we've had quite a few different conversations about the pricing of 4-point and wind mitigations and differently what other companies offer and don't offer between additional licensings, like you have your mold assessor's license. Is that something that you bring into your field of inspections and you offer as an additional service, or is it something that you don't want to muddy the industry with because other people don't offer that?
Shoot, I'm actually, if we're going to talk licensing, I'm accredited as a master inspector. I'm certified as a commercial property inspector. I hold Florida home inspector's license, Florida pest control operator's license, Florida mold assessor's license, EPA lead-based paint inspector's license, and in Florida I'm a home inspector CE course provider and a real estate agent CE course sponsor. I bring all of that to the table to every inspection I do, and I've built most of those protocols into our value add services, even though we don't, if you're getting a regular home inspection, your guy has been trained by me. The systems he's using has been written by me and include many of those protocols, even though, you're not specifically getting a licensed contractor to do that. So when, if we're talking about value adds and industry standards, we're far and above. And even though we're mid-priced, in my opinion, the value we're bringing to the table is that of a far higher priced inspector. Now, I will say, on the topic of 4 points, actually, let me back up, because there was a lot of things to unpack in what you just said. The first thing I want to bring up...
I threw a lot of information at you at once.
One of the first thing you brought up was the inspector culture. The Facebook groups are 90% trolls. There are a lot, and I mean a ton, and then I'm not saying that inspectors all over the place are bad, but the ones that are attracted to the Facebook groups, it attracts more than its representative number of trolls. So what does that mean? If somebody posts a picture and asks for help, you get 99% people making fun of it. The other 1% are code inspectors and who want to be experts on everything, and that really doesn't bring any value whatsoever in a home inspection. Now, why is that? Because we're visual inspectors. We're not required or supposed to be doing code inspections. And frankly, with a visual inspection, how can you diagnose anything? Code is different. Oh my God, codes are different from area to area, even though there's nationally accepted codes, etc. But each jurisdiction is going to accept their own standards. So let me give you an example, right? Whether it's code or diagnosis. If I'm looking at an AC unit and it's not blowing properly, and I tell you, well, it's got bad coils. Well, how do I know that? I didn't look. That's speculation. And I'm not going to take it apart to go figure that out. Because one, you don't own the house. You're the one as the buyer who hired me. We have right to inspect, and that's it. We follow the standards of practice. So if you have a home inspector who takes stuff apart, you know what I mean? You're at risk. Because now the seller can just turn around and say, you didn't observe that. You didn't observe the deficiency, you caused it. It was working fine before you took it apart. Are you licensed to take it apart? Are you an HVAC contractor? No, you're just an inspector. So, and I mean, we recently had an inspection where the inspector observed sediment coming out of the tub water. He turns around the buyer, and the buyer's agent was scrambling to get the deal, so he's getting his tools and working on it. Eventually they got it working, but what does the inspector do at that point? He observed two conditions. He observed it not working properly, and then he observed it working properly after having been alerted that the buyer's agent was performing maintenance on a house that was under contract that they don't own yet. So it's a mess. It's all over the place. Stay in your lane. The value of the home inspection is, we tell the story of the house at the time it was inspected. The buyer's responsibility is the condition of the house moving forward. And the real estate agent's primary responsibility is fiduciary. It's to promote the best interests of the client. And when everybody does that job, transactions go smoothly. When there's problems, it's usually because one or more of those persons, failed in their primary responsibility. Does that make sense?
It does. And to ask, I actually have kind of two probing questions on going back to kind of the original topics we had started with, having so many accreditations and higher learning that you've done and additional licensing. Being devil's advocate, do you think that is something that makes you overqualified, that could be a negative thing, or do you think that only pushes you further to be a better inspector?
It's a fair question. And there's certainly a risk, because let's take mold, for instance. Mold is not part of the standards of practice. I could walk right by mold and not mention it, and it's not part of the standards of practice. You have no right to complain about it as a buyer. However, you know what? We say we treat every customer like family and inspect every home like it's our own. Am I really going to walk by that mold and not alert the customer to a potential moisture issue, which we are on the hook for? So there's some kind of bleed over there. But if I'm going to do a home inspection and I immediately jump in to start talking about mold without knowing anything, or start, then it takes away, and it could kill a deal when there's no mold problem. So I keep it simple. We offer it as an ancillary service. We let our customers know that we offer mold inspections, whether that's air quality or sample testing, as an ancillary service, and why. And the why is some people are highly sensitive to it. If that's you, or you're, renting a house and you want to protect your tenants or protect yourself with liability or whatever, let me know, because we can do that testing for you. But unless I see something or have a concern, I'm not really going to, make an issue out of it. Ditto with pets. It's the same issue. If I'm qualified and licensed to identify something as a termite, or termite droppings, or pest intrusion, or whatever, but it's not part of a home inspection. So if I see damage, I'm going to mention it. If somebody brings up the topic, I'll say I'm qualified to talk about it, and I'll say, here's what I'd recommend. But again, I'm not going to. My primary responsibility in a home inspection is to do the home inspection. You do what you do right, and you do it well. If there's an opportunity or a need for the other things, then yes, that could come in. But personally, I love bug people. I love the pest industry, and that's where I started my professional career. So I'm going to keep the licensing, and eventually I'm going to go after my associate certified entomologist degree too.
So what it sounds like to me, Vito, to kind of put it simply for the viewers too, is that you're a home inspector first at the end of the day, and you use your additional licensing and accreditations as support to your professional opinions.
You're almost right. I'm not a home inspector at the end of the day. I'm the home inspector at the end of the day.
Corrections needed to be made.
I keep going to Big Fat Panda, from Kung Fu Panda. I'm not a Big Fat Panda. I'm the Big Fat Panda.
Yes, you definitely are the
Big Fat Panda
top tier of your career. I mean, again, even is it going to happen across these episodes that I just admire your professionalism, and you're educating me through these as well, and covering topics that kind of clarify things for me. I said I had two questions, and I haven't touched on the second one yet. Obviously, we do things like the CE classes for realtors. and there seems to be kind of higher education and stuff to better realtors. Is there something similar out there for home inspectors? Is there conventions or classes where people kind of get to meet and, further their knowledge and wisdom while doing these? Is that available to home inspectors?
It's not just available, it's prevalent. InterNACHI is huge. And the InterNACHI College is probably the best source of education I've ever seen for home inspectors. When you add to that things like the House of Horrors, they have one in Colorado, they have one in Florida, they've built a few others as far as I know. I mean, you're going to get three years of training in one day as far as defect recognition. Now, attached to all that are conventions, and there's FABI and NACHI and everything else. There's all kinds of things going on, but there's also, how do I say this? It's become kind of saturated with a lot of service providers, so that if you're not careful, you're spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on stuff you may not necessarily need. I can tell you what I did. I went to InterNACHI. I visited the House of Horrors, and I got trained in the field. Now, some people I respect will say, well, why do you need on-the-job training? Because you're just going to see the same 20 to 30 defects. Yeah, that's true, but unless I'm working across the country, even if I go to the House of Horrors, I may come back with all this knowledge, but I'm still going to only see the same 20 or 30 defects. So I need to learn my area. And more than that, one thing that I think we lack in the industry is that we don't teach home inspectors, how to be people. We teach home inspectors how to find defects, and that's fantastic because that's the first part of the job. But remember, when we're talking about the inspection business, the operative word is business. You've got to learn basics. Like, okay, here's a big one that you think is common sense, but it's not. Take a shower. Don't be stinking of cologne. Just be clean. That was from our original owner 10 years ago. That was basic. Take a shower, be clean, shave, wear clean clothes. Business casual if that's what it needs, but be able to work. Be on time. If you're not going to be on time, make a phone call. Speak in complete sentences. Use plain English. Write like you have better than a 4th grade education. How about please and thank you? Basic stuff that too many people don't understand. And that's just the beginning of it. We don't teach that. That should be taught because that's where a lot of inspectors are missing, in my opinion.
That's very interesting, Vito, because I've never thought about it that way. We talk about the balance of the gray areas of talking to people with certain verbiage, and we get really into the nitty-gritty details, but at the end of the day, it's you got to come back to just the basics. It's the think simple, stupid.
Look, it's real simple. Our first responsibility is to our clients, right? Our customers, our home buyers. The house is the house. No matter what, we're going to report what we observe. That doesn't mean every little thing is important or should be made to be like scary. The home inspection is primarily about defects that are going to have a significant adverse impact on the value of the property, or how do I say this? Pose an unreasonable risk to its occupants. We'll scratch and dent stuff, add value, pad the report. It's a good way for new inspectors to show that they're paying attention and being thorough, but they're not necessary. So our first responsibility is to the home buyer, but it is the real estate agents that refer most of the home inspection business. So there's a balance there. You've got to do it smart. And the easiest way to do it smart is to remember that these are people and they make first impressions. And if you're not going to take care of the basics, what if you're a smoker, right? You come up to the inspection stinking like smoke. Maybe one of the buyer or the buyer's agent have recently quit. Now you just pissed them off. And they'll never touch you again. You can be the best inspector in the world, but if you smell, or maybe they're puritanical, and you've got a foul mouth and you let something slip, they're not going to use you no more. It doesn't matter what kind of service you have. There it is. If you're all tattooed, I'm not saying I hate tattoos or nothing, but if you've got a swastika on your neck and you've got rise above on your forehead, excuse me, big 4-inch discs in your earlobes, dude, good luck getting business. Good luck.
It's great that you brought that up, because we were talking about, at the end of the day, again, I keep saying that, but the realtors are the ones who refer us. Yes, the buyers choose to use us, but the realtors are the ones that are advocating for us to be the home inspector for their clients, which we obviously deeply appreciate, because we couldn't be as successful as we are without them being included in our journey.
Well, let me jump in there. Hold that thought, because I've got to say this. I do not want to give anyone the impression that we're working for the real estate agents, because we're not. We do not change our reports based on getting a referral from a realtor. What we observe is what we report on. The difference is we also take the time to communicate to the buyers that when an issue is an easy fix, or it doesn't have a major impact on the house, that we tell them that. We also are careful how we do walkthroughs. Case in point, I get down off the roof as the buyer's walking up and I go, oh, your roof's leaking. Guess what? They're not going to hear nothing else after that. They don't know that I walked the roof and that it's fairly new shingles and that the bonding is good and the volatiles are all there and it looks to be well installed and the flashing's top notch and the vents are put in right and everything's working great except for one spot where there's some damage to the electrical mast going through, right? I have to say that. And the best way to do that is to start with the good stuff. Hey, I worked on your roof. It's in really good shape. This is good. 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 And I expect under normal circumstances, you should get plenty of life left out of it. There is one area, though, right over here where the electrical mast, and I see some water intrusion, a leak. It will be a 4-point issue, and it has to get, repaired before you can move forward. But guess what? It's an easy fix for someone who knows what they're doing, and I'm going to check inside to make sure that, any kind of water intrusion is going to be minimal for you. Okay? And that's what I mean by that. Does that make sense?
It does, and I'm glad you specified that, because I think that's an imperative, because I think we have a lot of confusion or people forget and don't realize that at the end of the day, the buyer is the one who is purchasing the inspection. They are paying for this report. They are the client. I mean, but I like that you had to point out prior to that, because I had the perfect example of sometimes it's just keeping the realtor included, because they're going to be the ones who get the calls at 9 o'clock at night from their buyer who has questions about the report. So keeping them included and educated and giving them the tools that they need if they're attending, or just giving them a quick call towards the end of the inspection and say, hey, these are some of the things that I have found that the buyer may ask you about. Here's my opinion. Here's what can be done about it. Even today, one of the best examples I think I've ever run into of that is I had one of our inspectors who found some things that were concerning enough about the plumbing to, suggest that having a sewer scope would be a good idea.
Yep.
He texted the buyer. The realtor didn't love that he texted the buyer, and my initial response was to be, defensive. I'm always going to want to protect the buyer first. I never want them to be missing out on inspections and knowledge before they get into a property. But with a simple conversation and understanding the realtor, they honestly just didn't want to have the buyer pay for two things twice. So her brokerage happens to pay for a home inspection prior to them listing it. that sometimes does include a sewer scope. So she had just wanted to save the buyer from paying for something that she easily could have supplied that had already been completed. But just tuning her into that information could have easily avoided a negative response to our company or to our inspector, that she felt that we were being predatory, which we're never doing that. We're always trying to add value and give people tools. We're not salesmen. That's not our job. But I think that was a perfect example that just communicating is going to avoid a lot of our hiccups and stuff that we run into that could be completely avoided.
Communication's key. You gotta keep everyone in the loop, and there's so many moving parts to it, and realtors are busy that mistakes are going to happen, or perceived mistakes, even when we do everything right, and that's okay. It's okay. It's most people I found are just trying to do the best they can under a lot of strain, and it's like I tell my kids, you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you're cool about it. And same thing here, communicate, be cool, and people will be cool back to you. It's really simple. Now, one final note on this topic is that there is an effect of carrying on the way we carry on with our agents and clients, and that's we have weeded out over a decade those few agents who are just trying to cram home buyers into whatever garbage they can. The partners we have are largely quality producers, that they're willing to work to get their clients the house that they want, and that the homes are in reasonably good shape. And our clients, for the most part, have reasonable expectations. They understand that you're buying a used house, not everything's going to be perfect, and that most things are an easy fix for someone who knows what they're doing. Simple.
I think a lot of it too now, in the wide world of technology, and you have access to as much knowledge as you want at your fingers, a lot of clients now do their research. I mean, we're very used to, in the past years, that they're always looking for the professional's opinion, and we have clients now who are double checking what we're saying, what their realtor's saying, and they're a little bit more knowledgeable. Granted, are they always correct? No. However, they are a little bit more prepared for these situations and these home purchases that I think we've seen in the past, which I think is a positive thing, because I can now have, great conversations when I'm booking these, have them ask questions that I can answer, stuff that we may not have had in the past that created hiccups and problems towards the end of the closing or even after the transaction's over.
The biggest one I get is, why would you tell me to, go to all these contractors? Isn't that what I used you for? What do I need you for then? Well, number one, you shouldn't have had to need all these contractors. Number two, without you wouldn't have identified a need for all these things. Number three, remember, it's a visual inspection. I'm not here to diagnose the issue. And if something's straightforward, like, okay, the GFCI is no longer resetting, and it's clear that it's an old GFCI, replace it, simple, move on. But if I start seeing red flags with one particular system, or I start seeing a bunch of DIY stuff and red flags with a particular system, I'm going to say, get a contractor, because I guarantee you, once you start opening, I don't even have to speculate. The chances are likely, based on my experience, that once you start doing one or two things, you're going to find several other issues that need to be corrected in order to fix the seemingly minor issue that you can see. So get the contractor. Don't do it there's time enough to do it yourself later after you move in. But when you're buying or selling, man, document. Let someone else own responsibility for having fixed the problem. Because I guarantee you, when you own the home, you own it. You're responsible for it moving forward. Now is the only time, the best time, to have things investigated and worked on and fully evaluated and give you cost to cure, etc. options for necessity, cost, and scope for repairs. Now's the time for that, not later.
I get that question a lot as well, and I think you'll agree that some of the best responses to that is to remind them that we're not going to find things in the reason to sell you something. We're not going to find a leak in your pool hoping that you'll have it, completely remodeled by us and choose us to do that service for you. I mean, we're cutting out the middleman of you having those predatory salesmen coming at you.
There are home inspection companies out there that have contractor businesses. Now, my personal ethics with the Master Inspector Certification Board, specifically precludes me from doing any kind of business like that with my clients for a year. It might even be longer than that. It's just common sense to me. If we're doing the home inspection, the core value there is objectivity. We can't have any conflict of interest. I won't do inspections for close friends or family members or anything like that. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm doing a favor for somebody and they're not paying for it, that's fine. But in a professional sense, I'm not doing any inspections where I might have either a financial interest in the outcome or even a personal interest in the outcome. It's an ethics violation. That's another thing too many people don't understand. They go all about codes and finding defects. They don't understand, again, what it is to run a legitimate business.
I think that ties in with what we were talking about originally too, with the, talking to realtors, is you have some of these that you can definitely tell that they're wanting to control the narrative, kind of puppeteer the situation, where they want the report sent to them first before the buyer so they can review. They want to kind of sculpt the process that benefits them, and it's an ethics violation. I mean,
no, not really. In that regard, I'm going to disagree, because remember, they have essentially power of attorney over the transaction. Once you sign on with that real estate agent, you're giving them permission to do all those things. I think it speaks more to a lack of trust and a lack of communication with a good home inspector. Remember, most of these agents that do that aren't used to, working with a home inspector who understands these things. So they're forced to take control of all of those things. And my message to any of those agents who are listening today is, you know what, wouldn't it be nice to work with an inspector where you don't have to do all that we've got it covered, that we understand, and we're already common sense, reasonable, and somebody you don't have to manage? Well, guess what? You can. Here we are. It's rock solid home inspections.
That was probably the best take you could have had on that, Vito. I like that take, but to take it even a step further, of another example that I could use is sellers and sellers agents trying to come and get the buyer's report. How do you feel about that?
There's the legal and then there's the courtesy, right? So in the home inspection agreement, this is just industry standard, the buyer signs that we have the permission to discuss the home inspection with interested parties. That includes contractors, sellers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So legally we're covered, but my feeling is it's a lot more courteous to just shoot a text to the buyer's agent or the buyer or both and say, hey, the seller asked for this. Are you okay with that? If they say yes, great, I'll take care of it. If they say no, great, I'll let them know. And I'm sorry, the selling agent, the buyer and the buyer agent has asked me not to. That's all I can do is go by, my customer's direction.
And that's how I approach it as well. And sometimes I don't even, it kind of depends on the situation. If I've been given the information prior that the sellers are going to ask for it, and they're already anticipating that happening and they don't want it to happen, I always have that response of, I'm only at liberty to supply the report to the buyer and her or his representative. That's usually how I kind of shut that down. Now, if I'm understanding that the seller is responsible for certain repairs and the situation kind of seems to be going that direction, I'm always more than happy to reach out to a buyer or a realtor and say, hey, they're asking for a report. They're asking for the inspector to give them a call to clarify something. Are we at liberty? Do we have permission to do so? It's a simple yes or no. And that's just kind of how you address those situations. Because we do run into both. More often than not, it's really just a bunch of, people in this transaction trying to work together. Nothing negative or anybody trying to get a leg up on something. But you run into the few cases where you have to kind of shut it down and be like, no, buyer paid for it. Only person who can see this is them and the realtor who represents them. If they want to supply you with it, they'd be more than happy to. You feel free to ask them for it.
That's one way, but just be delicate because you never know, and we're likely to be wrong no matter what we say because I've had it happen the opposite way. How dare you not give it to them when they ask for it from the buyer's agent? I'm working with them closely. Well, I'm not a mind reader, so why are you giving me stink eye? It's just better to anticipate and keep it simple. I'll be happy. Sure, seller's agent, I'll be happy to send that over to you. Let me just double check with Ann or whoever, or John or James or whatever, just to make sure they're okay with that, and I'll get it over to you shortly. Oh, okay, thank you. I didn't know you have to do that. Now, I don't, but it's a courtesy, and I would do the same for you. And then that's how I shut them down.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're on the same page with that.
It's just a nicer way of saying the same thing.
There's an art to dealing with people. I mean, it's like you had said previously about it being a business, and at the end of the day, we're dealing with people, and every person's different. Every expectation is different. Every transaction is different. There's never a guarantee that everything's going to be exactly perfect, but we can always do as much as we can to be as accommodating for each person in each situation. And I think we do a fantastic job at providing that. I think it's something that we've kind of adapted and is now something that we're kind of specialized in our office, how our inspectors address post-call inspections, questions about the reports, about what their findings were, what the insurance has questions about. I think we've kind of fine-tuned how we address people in every situation over the years, and it's only going to progress and get better as the time goes on. Hopefully even better this year as we are now in 2024.
I'll go along with that. I'll co-sign that. We are the premier provider of home inspections and inspection-related services in the area, and our focus is on people. Yes, absolutely. The quality, the value, all the corporate slang and lingo, it all goes along with it. But in my opinion, and it's a qualified opinion, we are largely recognized by our clients and those in our industry as being the best at what we do.
I get that back from realtors and clients. I mean, if you look at our reviews, it's gleaming that we get so much positive feedback in return. I mean, we get return clients that come back, many, many years later, that when they've decided to sell their home and purchase a new one. Or another one that I have
listening with the drippings of satisfied customers gushing over our service. Yes.
Yeah.
We glisten with praise.
I had a great one that it was really pleasing to hear, because you always want that positive feedback to know that you're doing a great job. I think us as humans in general, we love positive affirmation. It just keeps us going. But I had one that a client had sold their home. They had their buyer do an inspection with us, and they were so impressed by our service that they, as the seller, when they purchased their home, they used us. I mean, you never know where your networking will lead to, like what impression you're going to make on the people around you. And going back to the keep it simple, stupid with being clean and professional and presentable. I mean, that stuff matters. I mean, it's something that we move forward and strive for.
You fly your flag. You hold to your core values, and you will get the business that you have built. And our core values, and I teach this to all our inspectors, are humility, objectivity, being meticulous, and having empathy. It's that simple. And of course, that means home, and it's trite, but it's also true. Humility. We don't have to be the smartest people in the room. It's not our job. Objectivity. Number one. Have no skin in this game. I'm here to observe and report. Being meticulous. Leave no stone unturned. Yes, it's still a visual inspection, but I'm going to see everything I can within the scope of the service. And empathy. You know what? People have feelings. Just treat people like people. Treat them like how you would want to be treated. Understand how other people are going to take what you're bringing. If you do those things, you'll attract good business.
What was that sound, Vito?
That is our beloved general manager and director of marketing, a very special Dawn Perkins, wondering if there's still time for her to be a special guest.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can run over long. I'd be happy to have her.
You know, I love any time Dawn wants to add to the conversation. That woman there, she is just special people.
I was going to say, what a treat. I would love for her to join us. I think that would be a great way to round out the episode, is to get some of her insight.
She knows more about dealing with people than I know about performing inspections. And she is my go-to. She's my sensei when it comes to, territory development and things like that. She's just always on. She has a professional demeanor that I've never seen crack, not once. Maybe once.
I was going to say, as somebody who was trained by her, I can only speak accolades and attribute my success in this job and position to her.
Yeah, she is literally a rising tide that lifts all boats.
Yeah.
How about that? Don't tell her I said that.
Is she going to join us?
I don't know. I texted her. We'll see if she wants to jump in. She's busy too, but she might. She had her phone on the charger. She's hard to get a hold of.
She's just too dang busy.
But it's a good time to actually address the question we received from our Facebook guy, Mike Boomeister, or Boomeister. I apologize, Mike, if I mispronounced your name. But he wanted to know what kind of services we offer and the value we're bringing other people. And I think we spent a lot of time talking about value, but I'd like to talk about our actual services that we're bringing. The first, obviously, being the home inspection. We perform home inspections, right? I think we still do those.
Yeah, that may be our bread and butter.
Okay. So we're performing home inspections. Well, we've got 3 tiers of home inspections, and that's designed for everybody's budget. Our first and the most easily accessible is the basic home inspection. It's the entry level. It's low price. It starts at $295, and it's just big ticket items only, things that are specific to the standards of practice, major items, significant defects, material, if you will. And that's what you get, nothing more.
And that's really tailored to a specific demographic, and I just want to put that in there. That's really for...
No. You guys think that because most of our business is in an area where that says so, but it's regional. You forget that. A customer in Hernando County is different than in Pinellas County. the customer in Hernando County in rural areas, that's going to appeal more to, because it's a rural area. It's not just overall. So be careful of that distinction. Stephen's getting it now too. But the basic
That's fair enough. I can agree to that.
Yeah, but no, you're right. If you're an investor, if you're a veteran of real estate transactions, if you're one of those people who think you can get away with just a 4-point, no, go with the basic at least. That's your best protection. But it's also great if you're in a more rural area where all the houses are going to have all the general maintenance or remodel stuff needed, and you just want to know about the major things. That's where that's good for. Now our next level is the rock solid home inspection, and this is considered best in class. This is where we really shine. It's the best value. Well, it has great value. It's best in class. Let me put it that way, because you get everything you get with the basic. You get the full home inspection according to the standards of practice. You also get moderate to minor to-do list items along with that, the warranties and the guarantees that we provide. And with it comes free thermal imaging, the use of moisture meters, etc. And it is the most comprehensive, robust, standard home inspection that you can get for the money. And it's mid-price. Now, on top of that, the next step up at our final level of service is the Premier Package. And you can get either 1, 2, or 3 ancillary services attached to that with progressive levels of discounts. But this is by far the best value the industry has to offer. So with a package, you would get the the rock solid home inspection, the 4-point and wind home insurance inspections, and 1, 2, or 3 of the following services: mold inspection, sewer scope inspection, enhanced pool inspection with leak detection, and depending on if I'm available, you could also get lead-based paint or water testing, etc. with that. So we have got inspections for basically everybody. Oh, and by the way, you got a luxury home, you got a big, tall, inaccessible roof, we've got drones. You got a dock and a seawall, we've got a guy for that. Need a WDO, we've got a guy for that. We have got you covered, one-stop shopping. So our inspection-related services are top-notch, and I can tell you that I wrote the protocols. As a mold assessor, I wrote the protocols for the mold inspection. They follow the same exact standards that a mold assessor would follow. The only difference is you're not getting a licensed mold assessment and you're paying half the price. As far as the sewer scope, we were all trained by InterNACHI. We've got fantastic equipment, and we can access almost all of the building sewers, whether it's from a clean out or from the roof, or even if there's an inspection access under a sink or something, we can get it done for you. And the benefit of that is, you're going to find out whether or not your sewer line needs work, because that could be potentially tens of thousands of dollars in repairs, and it's not part of a home inspection. And likewise with the pool. Our pool follows the same commercial standards that InterNACHI teaches. It's like a 160-point checklist. And along with that, where we give away leak detection, where we can actually measure water loss over time to 1/10,000th of a square inch. So if that pool is losing water more than you'd normally expect to evaporation, we're going to find it, and you're going to know about it before you buy the house. I mean, that is the best value this industry has to offer. So that's our inspection-related services. We also offer fantastic services to our realtor partners, right? We're co-sponsors. We do co-marketing. We're routinely in events, whether it's in-house for real estate realtor offices or on a regional level with larger gatherings, trade shows, etc. We have in-house education and CE classes for our agents. I'm actually a presenter and a course author with DBPR approved courses that I wrote. And we teach that for free. We do showing specialist classes, and these are fantastic because it's basically free advertising for your listings. We host a class at your listing. We teach our agents to identify issues right up front that they can see that will be, likely 4-point items, and that will help them basically not be surprised or have to handle everything last second. It just makes them more experienced. Buy lunch, bring in sponsors. Everybody has a great time, and they leave with more knowledge. And these are just some of the things that we're doing. What about the season of thanks? What about the Thanksgiving discounts we're offering to people? How about adopting a family every year for the Police Athletic League and making those donations, or all the turkeys we've delivered to the hungry? We're pillars of the community. We serve as the inspectors for the city of Largo, the city of Clearwater, the city of Tampa, and we've even donated our services to make sure that low-income families can get quality homes through our inspections with Habitat for Humanity and Salinas House. And finally, every full home inspection that we do is backed by InterNACHI's 90-day buy-your-home back guarantee. That's right. It's just what it says. If we missed something that we're supposed to inspect and it would have made you not want to buy the house, InterNACHI will buy the home back for you for what you paid for it, and you can walk away. I could go on and on all day long about the value we offer. The hardest challenge is condensing it into a short enough litany that someone would want to listen to.
I think you just brought a tear to my eye, Vito.
That's probably just dance. That'll go away if you drink your coffee like you're supposed to.
There was a couple things in there that it kind of triggered a thought for me. I mean, you're showing specialists. We have one coming up here pretty close. Do you want to tell them about when that's going to be, dates and times where they can meet you?
I think that is why you make the big bucks, my friend. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are having a showing specialist class starting at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, January 9th. It is at 6790 22nd Street North in St. Petersburg, Florida, 33702. I will be presenting. This is sponsored by Michelle Rothwell with Rock Solid Home Inspections and Paula, the insurance lady. That's right, Paula Blandish. She's one of my favorite people, and she really knows her stuff. And and the agent. Oh my God, he's going to kill me. I can picture his face.
It's Craig Williams.
Craig Williams is the listing agent. God bless him. Forgive me, my friend. And we're all going to be there Tuesday, January 9th from about 10 to 12. And that's 6790 22nd Street North, St. Petersburg, 33702. And by going to our Facebook page, Rock Solid Home Inspections, you can find the post with the MailChimp link to sign up.
Yep, you should have also received an email. The realtors who are a part of our ISN system, they'll receive a flyer with all the same information. You can let us know if you're wanting to attend. We can get you added, or you can just follow the link to get yourself added for that day. This one's going to be the Pinellas County one. I do think we have, another one, and is it going to be in Hillsborough County, Vito? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, and I'm working on getting us some in Hernando County as well.
Perfect. And Dawn is also going to be responsible, or Michelle, they're going to be making sure that you're able to tune in on our Facebook Live. If you can't be there in person, we want to make sure we include everybody that wants to be there or wants to get some extra knowledge from Vito's, further insight on 4 points and wins. talking about promotions too. You talked about our discounts on our packages. You can get up to 20% on the packages. However, this is my favorite promotion that we've ever done. The entire year, we're adding an additional 5% to all of our packages. This is a huge celebration for Steven. It's his 5th year owning the company, and he just wants to invite everybody to join and celebrate with us and give back to our realtors that have been part of, his journey in the company and our success since he's been the owner. So, in including that, every home inspection booked during this year, each month we pull a raffle for the inspections for each month. This month for January, you get the opportunity to win a fire pit. Each inspection that you schedule puts your name and additional time in the raffle, which means you have a higher chance of, winning this luxury item provided to you by Rock Solid.
Who doesn't love to start fires? I want a fire pit. I want to sit outside and start a fire. In fact, I want to cook hot dogs on it. I want to bring it inside and start a fire.
They make those now. Have you seen those little desktop ones?
I want to roast marshmallows, make s'mores, maybe bake some bread, hot dogs, steaks. I want to make a fire pit pizza. And you never know when, and you can throw away your paper shredder. You got any papers you don't need, throw them on the fire. Bags you leave, throw them on the fire. Hell, what if one of the kids is pissing you off? Well, there's always the threat of fire to make them obey.
No, don't do that.
You know what they say about fire? Build a man a fire and he'll be warm for the night. But set a man on fire and he'll be warm for the rest of his life. And with that, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in with us next week. Happy New Year. Send your questions to inspectionconnections@gmail.com. And we would love to tune in with you on our next episode. Thank you, Aiden. Thank you, everybody. And God bless. Godspeed. And have a great day.
See you on the next one.